you like to reply or say something? Chandrasekhar? Rajeev Chandrasekhar? Okay.
So, thank you, sir. Let me start by thanking all my colleagues, sir, who participated in this debate, and I am grateful to them for their support through the course of the passage of this private bill for the last many months. Sir, let me just start by saying, I think the objective of this bill, and as I said it very early on, was to start a debate in this House, because since 1994, this House has said very little about Pakistan's role in sponsoring terrorism and Pakistan's role in the claiming of thousands and countless of lives, innocent lives in India. And so, sir, I would like to just put in front of my friends, I would like to place 4 quotes. One is what Sushma ji said in the 71st Union General Assembly in September 2016, and I quote, "We must acknowledge that terrorism is undoubtedly the biggest violation of human rights. It targets the innocent and kills indiscriminately. Terrorism has gone way beyond affecting individuals or nation. It is a crime against humanity itself. And it is important to ask, who's behind this and who benefits from this? Terrorists do not own banks or weapons factories, so let us ask the real question, who finances these terrorists, who arms them and provides sanctuaries?" I am putting this quote out there for us to just ponder, sir, because this is the thought that is also crossing. These are the questions that are being put by every man and woman in this country, sir, as they hear about terror acts regularly, sir. So let me just put another quote to you. This is the former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi talking about the context in which India has never been the aggressor. And she said, sir, in 1971, and I quote, "India always tries to be on the side of peace and negotiations and so on. But of course, we can't endanger our security in any way. We have never ever attacked anybody, but we have been attacked many times," end quote. Sir, in February 2000, the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji did not mince words when he said, and I quote again, "Pakistan is sponsoring cross-border terrorism as it has its internal compulsions. Pakistan has been smarting ever since its defeat in 1971 and the formation of Bangladesh, and now it has been humiliated in Kargil. Though the battle of Kargil is over, the war against terrorism will continue till Pakistan does not stop sponsoring terrorism. There can be no meaningful talks with Pakistan till it stops cross-border terrorism," end quote, sir. So the point here is, for 7 decades, our neighbor has managed to leverage the sponsorship of terror as an instrument of statecraft. This is the fact. This has been going on for 70 years, sir. And sir, I think, like my colleague Mahesh ji said, it is now time for us as a nation and a people and as Parliament to say enough is enough. I think some of our members were talking about various points, sir, including the fact there was a question raised about whether there is any utility of this bill. So there is a utility of this bill, and the utility is very simple. Since 1994, the Parliament has not spoken about this issue. And I think for the Parliament to speak about the fact that Pakistan is a state sponsor of terrorism is in itself a big thing. It may not translate into the necessary executive actions immediately on passing of the bill or on the discussion of the bill, but the fact is that the Parliament of India and indeed the Rajya Sabha has not spoken on this issue since 1994. So just by speaking, sir, we are sending a message. So, sir, I don't want to go on to extraordinary lengths to reinforce and re-emphasize the need for such a debate and need for such a bill, but I want to clearly address some of the doubts that have been raised by my members, because these are doubts that exist today even among some pockets in India. And so if you give me some time, sir, I would like to say this. One of the points that, for example, KTS Tulsi ji has said is the executive has power, so why should the Parliament do anything about it? But that is precisely why this bill is necessary. That is precisely why this debate is necessary. Because over the last 7 decades, successive executives have abrogated their responsibility in declaring and calling out Pakistan for being a state sponsor of terrorism. So if the executive does not want to do it, that the parliament can't just sit around and say, we will just stand by, sit silently and have the executive decide what the people of India want. So, sir, there is a utility, and this parliament has a role to talk about Pakistan's role in terrorism, regardless of what the executive does or does not do. And so that argument, sir, that the executive has the power and so the parliament should sit on its seats and do nothing, I think is a moot point, sir. There is another point raised again by a colleague saying, we need action, we don't need bills. But sir, that is precisely what this bill is supposed to not allow the discourse to drift into. Today, sir, when there is a terror act, we are left with two options. One is you take a candle and do a candlelight vigil and say, Aman ki Asha, or we say surgical strike or a military action. So the whole contention of this bill is to argue that we have a broad space between doing nothing and doing military options. And that is precisely what this bill is about. This bill is about exploring the middle ground of options that have to do with economy, trade, and other forms of sanction and other forms of pressure on Pakistan that go beyond doing nothing and doing only military action. So there was another point raised about dragging, we must also declare Cuba and Israel. Now the point, sir, is we can only, as Parliament, talk about who impacts us, who harms us. Cuba and Israel don't harm us. If some other country is affected by Cuba, if some other people are affected by Israel, they will in their parliament, in their legislature, declare them a terrorist state. This is India. We represent the people of India, and the clear and present danger to the people of India is Pakistan, sir. So therefore, the argument that we should drag in... Sir,
no.
Let me finish, sir. I want to finish all the points, sir. Give me 3 more points.
No, not much time.
Yeah.
You all see the...
Fine, sir. Let me finish.
Reply us also...
Yes, sir. No, there are points raised, so it's my obligation to reply to it, sir. So...
Be brief. Reply in brief.
Yes, sir.
Reply in brief.
No, let me... Sir, you are now disturbing my train of thought. The other point that was raised was that we should work with other countries. Now, this is again a bit farcical, sir, because if we are the victims of terrorism, we have to take the first move on this issue rather than rely on other countries to work with us to declare our enemy a terrorist state. The last two points, sir, before I wrap up. This, my colleague Manu Singhvi said this thing about graded response, and there I agree with my friend. I think the time for graded response is over. There is no need for us to investigate whether Pakistan is a terrorist state. We already know it's a terrorist state, and now it's a question of debating options. So I will just end by also again just repeating what my colleague Dr. Swamy said. Just yesterday, sir, the US Congressman Ted Poe, the chairman of the House Subcommittee on Terrorism, has introduced HR 1449, the Pakistan State Sponsor of Terrorism Act 2017. And he quotes, sir, during the introduction, and I quote, not only is Pakistan an untrustworthy ally, Islamabad has also aided and abetted enemies of the United States for years. From harboring Osama bin Laden to its cozy relationship with the Haqqani network, there is more than enough evidence to determine whose side Pakistan is on in the war of terror. It is not America's, it is not the world's. It is the time we stop paying Pakistan for its betrayal and designate it for what it is, a state sponsor of terrorism, sir. End quote. Sir, I will end by requesting the government, sir, that the status quo not continue, that the government explore options that go beyond just candle raising or military options and explore a whole plethora of options that lie in the economic and the trade area, and so that we can approach the issue of Pakistan and the relationship with Pakistan afresh. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. So now, therefore, are you withdrawing the bill? So you say that. You are withdrawing the bill. So I hope the House agree for the withdrawal of the bill. Yeah. Yes. With the consent of the House, the bill is withdrawn. Okay. Now I'll take up. I will.